Welcome to the Tim Booker channel, where wisdom is worth spreading. I wish you an enjoyable listening experience. Today, the book I'm going to interpret for you is called Peak Mind, with the subtitle, Find Your Focus, Own Your Attention, Invest 12 Minutes a Day. Since we're discussing deliberate focus, this book teaches us how to concentrate our attention. When I first got hold of this book, I couldn't help but wonder if there was enough material to fill an entire book on the topic of focus and attention. However, after reading it, I realized that attention isn't just related to learning and work. Many of our problems stem from attention-related issues. If you often feel anxious, worried, or overwhelmed by negative emotions, you may be experiencing attention hijacking. If you struggle to concentrate and focus on urgent tasks, you may have attention fragmentation issues. And if you frequently find your mind wandering and forgetting what you intended to do next, you might be dealing with attention inconsistency. All these problems can be boiled down to one thing: attention. The primary function of the attention system is to address the brain's challenge of dealing with an overwhelming amount of information in the environment. It helps filter out unnecessary noise and distractions in the surroundings and the constant interference of wandering thoughts. Without attention, our brains would be completely lost. Attention determines what we perceive, learn, and remember. It influences the decisions we make and the actions we take. It also dictates whether others perceive us as distracted or genuinely focused, ultimately shaping our accomplishments in life. Our life experiences in the world are the combination of everything we pay attention to. In a way, attention is life. However, the problem lies in the fact that we often struggle to concentrate, not because our attention system is weakening, but because we place unrealistic demands on it. We constantly jump from one task to another, expecting it to work tirelessly without giving our brains any downtime. Even when we realize this and try to relax by picking up our phones to watch short videos, we're still draining our attention because, for the brain, that's just another task. So, how can we recharge our attention? The author of this book has spent 25 years researching this question. His name is Amish P. Jha, a psychology professor at the University of Miami and a leading researcher in the field of attention training. He has tried various techniques, including brain training apps and high-tech audiovisual headsets, but none proved effective in enhancing attention. Eventually, he found that the only sustainable and effective brain training tool for improving attention is mindfulness training. The author conducted numerous mindfulness training studies, involving participants from high-stress groups like military personnel, paramedics, and community leaders. In all these studies, mindfulness training consistently showed positive results. Mindfulness is effective because it allows the brain to use attention in a different way. When external pressures and uncertainties mount, our brains tend to wander because the present moment is challenging. Mindfulness involves focusing attention on the present experience, anchoring it in the here and now, without judgment or emotional reaction, and without anticipating what will happen next. This practice can change the brain's default mode, preserving attention resources from unnecessary depletion. In the book, the author provides a set of mindfulness training techniques to strengthen attention, which I will also introduce to you. I'll break down the interpretation of this book into 3 parts. In the first part, we discussed how attention itself influences our perception, learning, and memory, as well as our decision-making and actions. Now, let's delve into what attention really is and what wandering is. In the second part, we'll explore how attention impacts our memory, revealing that many memory issues are, in fact, attention issues. In the third part, we'll discuss how attention determines our perception and decision-making, and I'll provide you with specific mindfulness training methods from the book, allowing you to put them into practice immediately after listening to this book. Alright, let's officially dive into this book now. The first chapter of this book is titled, Attention is a Superpower. The attention system performs some of the most powerful functions of the brain. It enables us to pick out a friend's face in a crowd, read text to acquire knowledge, and visualize a bright future in our minds. Attention strengthens what's important while weakening distracting elements, allowing us to think deeply, plan, and solve problems. In the author's words, attention weaves together the colors, tastes, thoughts, memories, emotions, decisions, and actions of every moment, forming the basic structure of life. What you pay attention to becomes your life. Therefore, 3 critical questions for us are: what is your attention currently focused on? What is it blocking out? What impact does it have on your life? However, for most people, attention is like a black box. We don't know how it operates, and we often don't even know what we are paying attention to until that moment when we suddenly realize we've been distracted. So, let's break down this black box and see how attention really works. Our attention system consists of three subsystems. The first subsystem is the orienting system, playfully named the flashlight. This orienting system works much like a flashlight. Wherever you point the beam of this flashlight is what gets illuminated, while everything else is blocked out. You can choose to direct this flashlight externally to your surroundings or internally towards your thoughts, emotions, memories, bodily sensations, and more. The second subsystem is the alerting system, which we'll call the floodlight. In contrast to the flashlight, the floodlight is diffuse and wide-ranging. When you are in a state of alertness, the floodlight switches on, allowing you to react rapidly to changes in your environment, quickly shifting your attention in any direction. The third subsystem is the executive function, formerly known as the central executive system. Its role is to guide, supervise, and manage our behavior. When you have a goal, whether it's finishing a chapter in a book or accomplishing a larger objective like a promotion or starting a family, the executive function helps you navigate challenges, avoid distractions, and ensure that you stay on track to complete your goals. For instance, if you intended to finish writing a document before 6 p.m. but found yourself chatting with a colleague until 5 p.m., your central executive system failed. You forgot your current goal. The more goals you have and the more tasks you need to manage, the stronger your executive function needs to be. The way the attention system works is to focus when necessary, be alert when needed, and plan and manage behavior when required. However, the attention system is not without vulnerabilities. There are three factors that can disrupt our attention: stress, negative emotions, and danger. Moderate, positive stress can provide motivation, but when stress intensity crosses a critical threshold, it begins to erode your attention. Your flashlight becomes trapped in negative thoughts, your alert system becomes hyperactive, and your brain uncontrollably dwells on past negative experiences or frets about an uncertain future. If you endure excessive stress for an extended period, you can fall into a vicious cycle of declining attention. Negative emotions have a similar effect. When you feel anxious or sad, your brain becomes saturated with negative emotions, making it difficult to concentrate on tasks. Similarly, when you feel threatened, it's hard to focus on immediate tasks or achieve long-term goals because your attention is instantly redirected to anything related to the threat. So far, we've learned about the components of the attention system and the factors that disrupt attention. Next, we're going to talk about the adversary of attention, mind wandering. Scientists refer to mind wandering as cognitive dark matter because it's always present but invisible. This type of brain activity involves unconscious thinking that diverts your thoughts away from the task at hand, hence the term, task-unrelated thoughts. Mind wandering comes with three major problems. Firstly, when you're mind wandering, you experience perceptual decoupling. Your perception disconnects from the surrounding environment, and your flashlight illuminates the random thoughts in your mind while the world around you remains in the dark. This leads to the second problem: you make mistakes because your ability to perceive and process the environment is compromised. It may not seem like a big issue, but research has found that mind wandering accounts for a staggering 50% of a person's day. In other words, for anything you do in a day, there's only a 50% chance that you're truly focused. The other half of the time, you're mind wandering. The third problem it causes is stress. Every time you snap out of mind wandering, you experience some negative emotions, which could be annoyance or guilt. This is known as the re-entry cost, the cost of returning to the present moment and refocusing on the task. After all, getting back to work after mind wandering takes a few seconds just to realize what you were doing in the first place. The more you mind wander, the more these re-entry costs accumulate, affecting your emotions and stress levels. In summary, when you need to concentrate on a task, mind wandering can have a negative impact. You miss things, make mistakes, your mood worsens, and you become absent-minded. You don't pay proper attention to your tasks, to others when they speak, and even to yourself. Faced with the uncontrollable phenomenon of mind wandering, the best we can do is learn to recognize when we're doing it. This is the first step in the mindfulness training we'll discuss today: finding your flashlight. This skill requires you to notice when your attention flashlight veers away from the current task and then redirect it back. We should reconsider mind wandering. It's not a failure or a mistake, rather, it's a prompt to begin focusing again. you should gently guide your attention back to the target. The specific exercise we're going to do is a breathing exercise. First, find a comfortable posture without becoming overly relaxed. Sit up straight with your shoulders back and chest open. Place your hands on armrests or your lap. Close your eyes, but don't engage in deep breathing, simply maintain a natural rhythm of breath. Focus on the sensations associated with your breath, including the gentle flow of air in and out of your nostrils, the expansion of your lungs, and the rising and falling of your abdomen. Choose one of these bodily sensations that you find most prominent. For the duration of this exercise, concentrate solely on this chosen sensation. Direct your flashlight toward it. Then, be attentive to the moments when your flashlight wanders away. It might be a notification on your phone, a sudden memory, a tune, or an unexpected daydream. Regardless of what it is, when you notice your flashlight has strayed, gently bring it back to focus on your breath. This first exercise may sound simple, but it involves two challenges you might not have been aware of before: recognizing mind wandering and redirecting your attention. You can set a timer on your phone and start with a 3-minute practice. 3 minutes might seem short, but when you're new to mindfulness meditation, even 1 minute can feel lengthy. You may find yourself redirecting your flashlight many times. Alright, we've just discussed how attention works and introduced the first exercise in mindfulness training. Next, let's delve into the topic of memory and examine how attention shapes our memory. The foundation of memory is attention. What we pay attention to determines what enters our working memory. Working memory is the temporary storage space in our minds for information needed in the present moment. It's the dynamic cognitive space we use constantly, apart from when we sleep. Think of it as a temporary whiteboard where the information selected by the flashlight of attention gets written: thoughts, decisions, things you want to say, and more. However, unlike a real whiteboard, the ink on this one only lasts for a few seconds before it refreshes. This is necessary because if the ink didn't disappear, all the thoughts generated in your mind would overwhelm you. When your flashlight has moved on, the ink vanishes, making way for new content. So, when you're mind wandering, this whiteboard becomes cluttered and filled with irrelevant content, causing you to lose track of your work tasks. Working memory serves as the gateway to long-term memory. Information, experiences, and feelings are written into long-term memory through working memory. When you want to retrieve something from long-term memory, you first need to download it into your working memory for quick access. Working memory is also crucial for social interaction and communication. Your thoughts, emotions, and feelings are written on this whiteboard, allowing us to manage our emotions through techniques like shifting attention or focusing on other matters. Researchers have discovered a correlation between the capacity of working memory and one's ability to manage emotions. People with lower working memory capacity find it challenging to control themselves and tend to express their emotions, while those with higher capacity can better manage their emotions and reactions. They can also store their goals more intensely in working memory. For example, my goal right now is to control my emotions to achieve effective communication. We rely on our working memory continually to update our goals, make decisions, and take actions, like finishing a presentation, buying groceries after work, or waiting for the traffic light to turn green. Therefore, working memory is essential for communication, social interaction, emotional management, and achieving goals. However, the bad news is that working memory is limited. When you attempt to remember too much, exceeding its capacity, you experience a common phenomenon known as chunking. For instance, you walk into a room and suddenly forget why you came in or open the fridge and can't remember what you intended to grab. Even though you knew just moments ago, you now self-deprecatingly say your brain isn't functioning well. But what exactly causes this? One hypothesis is that we unconsciously mind-wandered. When the flashlight is pulled away, the whiteboard is abruptly cleared, erasing what you were previously contemplating. So, when external or internal distractions enter working memory, they override its previous content. Therefore, attention and working memory are tightly intertwined and must cooperate to achieve our goals. Mindfulness training can improve working memory by clearing this whiteboard. Speaking of mindfulness meditation, many might think it's like hitting the pause button, stopping life's moments for a while. But in reality, life has no pause button. What we seek is the play button. Instead of dwelling in the past or worrying about the future, we aim to remain in playback mode, listening to what's happening right now. So, the second exercise in mindfulness training is pressing the play button and observing your whiteboard. This exercise begins similarly to the previous one. Sit comfortably, focus on the bodily sensations of your breath. The difference is that when the flashlight's beam initially strays, you don't immediately pull it back. Instead, you pause for a moment, observe where it went, and identify what disturbance appeared on the whiteboard. Is it a thought, an emotion, or a sensation? Was it a memory, a feeling of tension, or a physical discomfort? Once you've determined the type of distraction, return to focusing on your breath. Repeat this step each time you notice your mind wandering. Label the content of your mind wandering during this exercise. Through this practice, you'll become aware of what's on your whiteboard and what your mind often wanders to. When you're in playback mode, you're filling your whiteboard with the present moment. If you consider this as hitting the record button, encoding an experience in working memory, it eventually becomes part of long-term memory. In essence, you remember what you pay attention to and what you write on your whiteboard. This reveals that what we often perceive as memory issues are actually attention issues. If you can't recall something a friend said, it's not necessarily due to a poor memory, it might be because you weren't paying attention and encoding it at the time. Recognizing this may change your lifestyle. When attending a concert, filming it with your phone instead of enjoying it with your eyes can diminish the experience and your memory of it. Similarly, when spending quality time with your child, if your attention is still on unresolved work messages, your child's smiles and words won't be etched into your memory. So, for better memory, immerse yourself in what you care about, and concentrate fully on it. Now, let's discuss the third mindfulness exercise, the body scan. This practice allows you to reconnect with your body. Start by getting comfortable, closing your eyes, and placing your attention on your breath. However, this time, we won't keep our focus solely on the breath. We'll guide it through your body. Begin by directing your attention to your toes. Pay attention to the sensations in your toes. Slowly move your attention from the lower half of your body to your pelvic area, then up to the upper half, including your shoulders, hands, and finally, your neck, face, and the top of your head. Focus on the sensations at every moment. If your mind starts to wander, gently bring it back and continue the practice. While doing this exercise, you'll become more aware of your bodily sensations and how emotions manifest in your body. Over time, you'll gather more data and remember your emotions and bodily sensations. Next time you take a photo with your phone, take a moment to feel the scene beyond the phone's frame, including colors, scents, and your own emotions. You'll need to magnify and integrate various elements from your experiences into your working memory to fully remember the present. Mindfulness exercises help you immerse your attention in the present moment, making your experiential memory richer. What we notice gets written into working memory and is then selectively encoded into long-term memory. These long-term memories serve as the raw materials for our brain's simulations. Our brains are incredible virtual reality machines. We continuously simulate the world, imagine the future, and prepare by strategizing. Our brains construct narratives. For example, if a leader suddenly assigns me an undesirable task, I might simulate how to politely decline. If my friend says A, should I respond with B or C? We simulate various scenarios, potential answers, and even entire dialogues. This mental simulation is a powerful and useful ability. However, the brain's simulation ability is a double-edged sword. Firstly, if you constantly simulate negative, anxious, or dangerous scenarios in your mind, these simulations can affect your emotions, occupy your attention, and working memory. This kind of repetitive negative thinking is a characteristic of many disorders, including depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Secondly, your simulations may not match reality. When you're deep into a mental simulation, you become disconnected from the real environment around you. Your brain suppresses information that doesn't align with your simulation, limiting your perception. In other words, you become trapped in a narrow, wishful thinking mindset, seeing only what you want to see and ignoring objective reality. In 2004, a pair of American soldiers in Afghanistan received intelligence indicating a large group of Taliban militants gathered on a nearby hill. The colonel received images confirming the enemy camp and approved an airstrike. However, before issuing the order, he dispatched a pair of scouts to physically verify the situation. The scouts reported back that there were no signs of enemy activity, no weapons, and no threat. The enemy camp was, in reality, a tribal winter camp. It consisted of ordinary people and had no connection to the Taliban. The story illustrates the confirmation bias, seeing what you expect to see. The scouts initially expected to find a Taliban camp, so they genuinely believed they had. Luckily, one of the scouts noticed the real details. In everyday life, we have these moments. Due to a negative rumor about someone, even if we don't know them well, we may mentally simulate a negative image of them. Upon hearing a piece of bad news, we might mentally simulate a doomsday scenario and ignore the possibility that it's an isolated, non-representative event. The raw materials our brains use for simulation are often subtle, flawed, incomplete, or even incorrect. Mindfulness training provides a way to shift from a simulation mode to a mindful mode. It allows you to step out of imagination and emotions, open your eyes, and see the real situation around you instead of getting lost in a virtual reality your brain creates. We live in an incredibly uncertain era, and we need the ability to switch to mindfulness mode, at least for a few minutes, to let go of the stories and focus on observing the present moment. The first step is to become aware that you have a story. Regardless of the situation, you always hold some expectations. The next step is to try to let go of the story and stay in playback mode. Remind yourself that thoughts are not facts, and your predictions are just one of many possibilities. Things may not unfold as you expect. Immersing yourself in negative memories or imaginations is unnecessary. We often think a successful leader has a future-oriented mindset, can imagine all possible scenarios, and prepare strategies. However, this is a misconception about leadership. In fact, the key to better planning for the future is to be fully present, observe the surrounding environment, focus on your emotions, and concentrate on attention. While focusing is essential, the ability to detach when necessary and guide yourself on how to focus, when to focus, and what to focus on is even more critical. In other words, you need to pay attention to your attention. This is known as metacognition, as if you've stepped out of your body and are observing yourself, noticing where your attention is and what your mind is doing. You should ask yourself what you're paying attention to, what you're feeling, and how you're processing those feelings. All the exercises we've discussed today aim to train this kind of metacognition. Now, we move on to the fourth exercise provided in the book, the River of Thoughts. The fourth exercise is the most abstract of them all. It begins in the same way as the previous exercises, with a focus on your breath. Then, you broaden your awareness and imagine your mind as a flowing river. You stand on the riverbank, observing the thoughts, memories, feelings, and emotions as they flow by in front of you. You don't engage with them or judge whether you are getting distracted, you simply let them flow. Imagine your breath as a giant rock in the flowing water, and your attention rests on this rock. With this, we've covered all 4 mini-exercises of mindfulness training. After repeated practice, the recommended minimum dosage for the training, as provided by the author, is 4 weeks, 5 days a week, with each session lasting 12 minutes. In the first week, you focus on the flashlight exercise every day. You can incorporate this practice into your daily routine, such as during toothbrushing. During this initial week, you might encounter some misconceptions about mindfulness. For instance, you might feel that you cannot empty your mind. However, mindfulness is not about emptying the mind, it's not possible. Also, your goal is not to feel calm and relaxed initially. In fact, you might find it boring or even tense at the beginning. This is actually a good sign because you are training your mind to deal with its restlessness. You'll notice how often your mind wanders and how agitated it can be. Mindfulness is not about relaxation, it's more like doing push-ups for your brain. Through this practice, you learn to handle the noise, resistance, and boredom in your mind, building mental endurance. The results will become evident when you need to focus in real-life situations. In the second week, you alternate between the flashlight and body scan exercises. In addition to keeping the flashlight steady, you also move it around. By the third week, you alternate between flashlight and river of thoughts. You'll become more aware of how often you get distracted and what pops up in your mind. You might notice recurring patterns, such as getting angry or indulging in negative future scenarios. Gradually, you'll start asking yourself what you're worrying about and why you get trapped in these thoughts. In the fourth week, you alternate between flashlight and the connection exercise. In the connection exercise, while meditating, you send out positive wishes to yourself and others, hoping for their happiness, health, and safety. This practice helps develop your capacity for connection and offering goodwill to yourself and others. After the initial 4 weeks, the subsequent exercises are a rotation of these practices. Mindfulness training guides us to focus on the present moment, especially in high-stress and unsettling situations. It helps improve your ability to endure pain, manage emotions, and recover from adversity. Mindfulness not only enhances your attention and working memory capacity but also strengthens your confidence in dealing with the future, as you know you have the psychological resilience to face challenging situations. Alright, the following is the main content from the book that I wanted to share with you. In the past, we often considered attention to be merely a tool. However, the new science of attention now tells us that attention determines our perception, learning, and memory. It also influences the decisions we make and the actions we take. It can be said that attention is life itself. A method that effectively enhances our ability to focus is mindfulness training. Mindfulness enables you to maintain your attention where it's needed, away from simulation and planning, and directly experiencing reality. The philosophy is that the present moment quickly passes, but your performance in the present moment has a lasting impact. Therefore, the key is whether you can stay focused in the present moment, keep the flashlight steady on what matters, let go of expectations, see the reality before you, avoid overreactions, judgments, and imagination, and truly live in the moment to feel, learn, and act. Sometimes, giving your mind a moment of blankness, allowing it to flow freely, can create something more valuable than filling it with clutter. Alright, that's the essence of this book's content. Congratulations on finishing another book. Thank you for your support and attention. Please subscribe to the Tim Booker channel, like, and share with your family and friends. Wisdom is worth spreading, paving the way for a better future. Thank you, and goodbye.